are the hands and feet of Christ in our world today. God needs us to live our values. And our values are shaped by these experiences.
God is inviting us, challenging us to live in such a way as to be faithful to our mission experience, to be faithful to our values, to be faithful to whom we have become. In the 1982 film, The Year of Living Dangerously, Billy Kwan, a journalist, meets and learns from the poor of Indonesia and how the Sukarno government is unresponsive to their needs. He keeps asking himself the question, what then must we do? During mission, we often encounter warm and generous people who simply, through the accident of birth, are living lives utterly lacking in material resources, struggling for their daily bread. As we have uncovered in the previous segments, they often teach us many things about themselves and their culture surely, but also about ourselves and about our God. What will we do with what we have learned? How is it that we can live faithfully to our experience and to the values we embraced on our mission trip? How can we continue to live mission in our day-to-day lives back here in the United States? In the words of Billy Kwan, what then must we do in order to live lives of integrity?
You might say, what am I going to do with this? I don't know. So one obvious way is to continue being in touch with or continue the commitment you've already begun in these places we mentioned on the map. So that's an obvious way. But there's more to it than that if we allow it.
In this segment, we offer a process of discernment, which will enable the viewer to discern what he or she will do with what they have learned and gained from their experience in mission. The discernment process includes identifying possible choices, accessing choices in terms of being consistent with one's values, being consistent with one's own gifts and passions, recognizing current commitments, and recognizing one's limits in terms of time and treasure, asking if this choice or these choices brings you peace, joy, or another feeling. Praying and sitting with decisions regarding these choices. A framework for exploring possible post-mission actions may include looking at such categories as the following. Often, after one's mission experience, a person may begin to see that they have commitments or have been living in ways that are incongruous with the values that one has observed, and may feel that God is calling them to make a change in order to live a more integrated life. If that is true, it takes immense courage to actually make and sustain those changes. And it is clear that one cannot do everything or is even called to do everything.
But I also think it's what these experiences, how they can touch our lives, those of us that had the privilege of having these experiences in mission, is that the way that I see that it can continue to touch your life is with a balance and a tension. So, I personally think God wants us to live the best life with joy and happiness. How do I do that in my life with all that's available to me in balance with, I know there's another reality out there that does not have that. I don't think that God wants us to live lives that we're just overwhelmed with guilt, which sometimes these experiences can do if you don't have a place to talk it out with people. A little bit of guilt, I think, is really important. So I think besides balance is tension. How do I live the best life available to me with a bit of a tension? That what's holding me accountable? It's so easy to have these experiences or longer experiences and to be absorbed into the dominant way of living in the United States. It's easy to move away from these values and the things we learned and witnessed and were taught. It's easy to get sucked into a different way of thinking. And what's going to hold me accountable? So when I go to buy a new pair of shoes, well, I have people that will not go shopping with me. First of all, I'm not a great shopper, but if I go to this thing, because I go to buy shoes and then you're like, just go pick out the ones you want. But I'm like, no, I got to think about, well, who made them and where'd they come from and all these things. They're like, oh my gosh, But that's what I think it's about, is allowing it to come into our lives and to say, I always think it's like somebody from there. Think about who was the most inspirational person you met in your place. Put them on your shoulder so that when you go to do things, that they're going, hey, remember me? You're not really going to do that, are you? You're not going to buy that. You're not going to do that. Hey, whoa. I've been in peace and justice work for a long time, and some of the most unpleasant people I've ever met are peace and justice people who are just overwhelmed with it. There's no balance. And I think this is my opinion. I don't think that God wants us to live that way. But I think God wants us to live in a way that also remembers the other, those of us that had that experience. And I think that's I think it's one of our gifts, but one of the tough gifts of these kinds of experiences is we know this other reality. We know the people whose names that are living that way. We love them. They're our friends. They're our family. And how do I live the best life that's available to me with knowing them? How do I keep that in balance? And I think it's about having a tension there that calls us to accountability.
You went on mission. You took a huge risk, and you had a rich and complex experience. You have honored that experience and the people you encountered by reflecting on it to see what it had to teach you about yourself, others, and God. Your world is suddenly bigger. How has your perspective changed? How has your dream for the world, for the future, changed? How would you describe the world that God wants for us? What have you learned about others, God, and yourself? What are the talents, skills, and values you have now that will help build the kind of world that God wants for us? Now, today, for the foreseeable future, what is your mission? Where and with whom has God sent you?